Welcome back to the Wedding Buzz. It's your host, Sydney, and today I am so excited to introduce my guests, Marissa and Mike, who are a husband and wife team that founded Set the Mood. They share a passion for fragrance and creating signature moments with the power of scent. I will let them dive in and explain more about what they do. So Marissa and Mike, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I purposely didn't talk to you like too much before about like what it is, because I want to find out. Sometimes I ask people all about their business and then I'm like, oh shoot, I should have had that on the podcast. So anyway, tell me about yourself. How did you guys discover like that you had this love for like scent and fragrance and turn that into a business?
Well, my background is actually in beauty product development and marketing. So I was already involved in the beauty industry a bit. And I think my love for fragrance really started all the way back in middle school when I used to go to the drugstore with my friends and we used to play with all of the body mists and all of those, elementary, I guess, fragrances. And I even remember, the boys were wearing Curve cologne. I don't know if you remember that, but that must have been, 20 years ago, and I'm sure if I smelled it today, it would still take me right back there.
There it is.
Definitely, and it definitely linked to one of those core memories. So, yeah, I think that's where my love for fragrance really started and grew.
Awesome. And then you turned it into a business. When did you kind of think that you could turn it into a business? Like, how'd you think of this? This business.
I originally wanted to start creating perfumes for brands, given my background in beauty. And, Mike also loves fragrance and has a really deep, history with it, also dating back to his childhood, and has always loved it. And together, every time we travel the world, we always love stumbling upon, apothecaries and perfume shops and finding things that you can't get here and cool niche brands. And, so we started thinking about how we could bring this to other brands, and the idea kind of just continued to grow, and we decided to work with brands to help them develop their own signature scents.
It's very cool. What kind of products do you use?
So I would say that for scenting spaces and events particularly, we do a patented cold diffusion process. And with that, you ensure that the signature scent, which we'll get into, disperses evenly throughout.
So we don't use, things that you could buy in the store. We're not running around spritzing room sprays and lighting candles. We use a specific system and equipment that is, installed into the space so that the signature scent, floats throughout the air of the venue and is evenly dispersed, and, guests can't see it. It's just kind of like that imaginary touch.
It is fun because you don't necessarily think of adding a scent to your event, but I think back to when I was a kid and going to my friends' homes, and it's every home had its distinct feeling and its kind of distinct scent, whether it be good or bad. Mm-hmm. But it is it does, I feel create kind of a lasting memory, and it is noticeable. Sometimes it's maybe more noticeable if it's really bad, but it is cool that it's kind of, I would say a newer thing to add to your event, but I really like it because I feel it does make that impression of oh, it smells good, and then when you have that signature scent, it's the same thing going throughout the night. It might sound like a silly question, and you just kind of touched on it, but so it's different from the typical Febreze, Yankee Candles, room sprays. So it is it's a customized scent. How do you guys make it, or where does it come from?
So we have a library of hundreds of scents, and based on, we get to know a couple, or, sometimes we work with brands for events, but in this case for weddings, we would get to know the bride and groom, get to know their personalities. What's the theme and vibe of their wedding? What kind of feeling do they want to evoke? What's the venue like? What notes do they like or don't like? So we really get to know the clients. And from there, we go back to our library and curate a selection of scents, what we think would work well for them. Mm-hmm. And, it's a super fun process. We get to sit with the couple, go through the samples, get their feedback. If none of those really, hit the right spot, we come back with more. Or there's an opportunity for them to create a totally custom scent. So working with them to understand what they like and, what they want to bring to life. And we can create and develop from scratch a scent if that's, what they're going for.
Very cool. So it is a very customized process.
Yeah, for sure. And then the part I want to jump in with that, which ties into the products, is our fragrance products, be it candles, a room spray,
pillow mist,
perfumes even. It's all very much, like Marissa said, about the client and what they're going for. But in a specific event situation, the same as you were just saying, you can instantly be brought back to the house you were at when you were a child. The same happens with events. You can enjoy the signature scent of an event that this couple, put their time and energy into really curating for this event or crafting a signature scent. And then you can put into a product, whether it be a candle or a room spray that they go home with your guest, and then forever have that connection to your event.
That's really cool. That is really cool. So they get a favor. But it's meaningful, and I love favors that are useful, something that people will use again. Because if you're spending the money on the favor, it might as well be something that people will like and not just throw away.
Absolutely.
And when you can connect to their emotions and their memory and of our senses, scent is the one that has that strongest connection directly to our brains, to our limbic system, to our memory and our emotions. And that, I think that's really, with our scenting your event, part of our business is what we're trying to accomplish.
Very cool. I really like that. So what is, this is a little off, but I know we're talking about scenting your event because this is the Wedding Buzz and it's mainly for brides, but let's go back to your business as a whole. So what do you guys focus on? I know you work with brands, you do events. What is your main, what do you mainly work with?
So if I were to give you a soundbite, essentially, we create and establish signature scents for brands, and we can offer on-site ambient scenting for their spaces. So, when you walk into your favorite hotel and it smells amazing, that's ambient scenting. And, it's really upgrading the ambiance. So we work with all different types of businesses. It could be a hotel, it could be a restaurant, a jewelry store, a Pilates studio, a casino, really anything where scent will elevate the guest experience. So we really elevate the guest experience, creating really a sensory journey for the customer and the client. Yeah. And it, like Mike said, it is linked to your memory. And there's a lot of science behind olfactory. So for instance, in a retail environment, it's shown that customers actually stay longer and spend more money. In doctors' offices, it puts them at ease, it puts patients at ease. So there's a lot of connection between scent and memory and experience and emotions. And then beyond the ambient scenting and scenting events, we also create custom products for brands. So it's not always hand in hand. It could be you create a signature scent for a space and then they want to turn it into a candle to retail or to gift. Or some brands are just interested in creating their own signature scent that they can have a line of candles or perfumes. So
that's very cool.
A lot of possibilities.
That's very cool. I think it is so true that, people don't realize how much scent really does affect them. And when you walk into a certain store and they have their their scenting correct, or if it's the same, even if it's a chain store, but they use the same scent, it does bring the whole feeling. And it's I don't know, I'm word vomiting, but I get what you're saying. And it is, I think it's more effective than people think it is.
It's definitely the finishing touch. And kind of what you said, you don't even realize that you need it almost until you have it. So you might not realize, a business might not realize how much it could impact their business or their environment and space. But once they realize that they could have that or it's attainable to them, then they realize how powerful it is.
No, it's so true. The one that comes to mind is the AC Hotel. Oh. They have some, I don't know what it is, but some scent. And every AC hotel that I've been to, it's the same one, and it smells so good to the point where my husband and his friend, if we pass an AC hotel, they're we have to go and we have to go smell it. So we all know that feeling of walking into Bath and Body Works where you get 100 different scents at the same time and you get that instant headache. And I can see where some people, when you talk about like, oh, we can set your event, they might be like, oh, I don't want anything too strong, or like, I don't want that headache. So how do you, I'm sure that your products aren't giving people that crazy headache that everyone gets when you walk into like one of those crazy stores. But how do you guys navigate that?
I'd say our product, our oils specifically, are the highest quality. They're hypoallergenic, so we avoid any allergy issues, which is definitely a concern if you're having a guest experience. We only infuse the space with one scent at a time. And so you're not getting bombarded from everywhere with different scents, which definitely would cause a headache and kind of ruin the experience. So we're very, one very well done scent, and that's all it takes. And we can also set up the equipment to disperse at different strengths at different times. So we can really much, adjust it as needed, stronger, lighter, depending on the experience that we're trying to make happen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
It can be more subtle, or if they really want it to be impactful and powerful, especially for maybe an event with a specific theme, and they really want people to walk in and just feel like they're transported, or feel like they're, somewhere. Like we even have gourmand scents like waffle cone and brownie. So, even if someone has even at their wedding, their dessert bar area or separate room could have a sweet smell like that. And maybe, they really want it to be impactful. And so there's a lot of possibility, and everything can be customized as far as the strength.
That's really cool. So if someone's interested in your services, and I'm interested in your whole business, but this is the Wedding Buzz. So if someone's interested in your services, or specifically a bride and groom for their wedding, what does the process look like? You kind of touched on it earlier, of that, you do give them samples, but what does the process look like?
So I think, especially for brides and grooms, it would depend on how much they do want to be involved and what their personalities are like. Mm-hmm. So we have a project brief that we give clients, but some people don't like to fill that out, or it's just not their style. So in that case, we would have a conversation with them. And, we really like to be as hands-on and interactive as possible, because that's how we're going to know, the personality, let's say, of the bride and groom.
So different.
Exactly. And really getting to know, maybe we see their inspo board or their Pinterest board for the wedding, and what kind of florals are they having, and what's the venue like. And maybe they know what they like and don't like, and maybe they don't. So we then kind of pull that from them and get an idea, and we go back to our library and we sort through all of our different scents and what notes, would make sense for them. And like we said, if we're local, we would bring some samples. We don't like to overwhelm, so maybe 10 to 15 maximum. It's also, hard to be smelling things over and over and kind of get lost. So we like to be super curated with it. It's really fun and interactive, and, everyone loves doing it, kind of smelling things and giving feedback, and we make it a really fun process. And, we can, if they're not local, we can put together a sample kit of scents that we think would be a fit, send it to them, let them sit with it, test it out, review. We go through, as many versions and scents as it takes to find their signature scent, or like we said, based on their feedback, we can create something completely custom or match something that they have that doesn't even need to be a fragrant. Maybe they have a perfume they want to turn into a signature scent, and we can match those notes. So
that's very cool. Like if you do have a perfume that you love, but you're like, I want my whole house, or the whole event to smell like this, or my whole store.
Like our first date was here, and I remember it smelled like this, and that's what we want to recreate for our wedding.
Exactly.
That's so cute. That is so cool. So for a wedding or event specifically, how do you guys, I know you touched on it a little bit, but how do you scent the event? What does the process look like that day?
So every wedding is obviously different when it comes to the venue access and how you have that time to set up and do all that. So we'll work ahead of time with the bride and groom, with the planners, to understand really the layout and the floor plans, for instance, of the space. And then from there, we'll strategically put our equipment, we hide it, we camouflage it. You don't even know it's there. It's the silent impact, as we were talking about earlier. And so we could put it with decor, floral arrangements. We test everything the morning of, and then the rest is just the magic.
Very cool. Is there any cleanup involved?
No, not at all. So the machines, they're, like Mike mentioned, cold air diffusion machine. So it's a piece of equipment. It's not too large. It can be hidden, behind decor or floral arrangements. We really do try and camouflage it to make sure that, for the guests, we want it to really be seamless and that invisible touch. So we come and install the machines, and then, the next day or later that night, we would come and pick them up. So it's really like a plug and play.
Does it have to be like plugged into a wall? Does it need electricity?
It does typically need electricity. We do have some machines that are battery powered. We would use more of those because they're not quite as powerful. So it's best to have electricity. But we can make anything happen,
Very cool. Very cool. I like that it's like subtle and sounds like it's for the bride and groom. Sounds like there's nothing really that they need to worry about the day of. You guys just come, tuck it in. And you mentioned before it's adjustable. Is it adjustable like during the event or just like beforehand? They tell you how strong they want it.
We would typically do it ahead of time. This way it is seamless and nothing has to be adjusted. We always kind of work with the planner to give them the information and let them know, if for some reason they need to be adjusted on site, here's what you can do. But typically we would do that ahead of time and test it out. And the planner would probably be the one. I know how busy it is being a bride the morning of. So like you wouldn't find me anywhere, but the planner would likely have an idea of what the couple is looking for and be able to give that feedback. So we would make sure that, all is good to go before we leave the venue.
Very cool. I love this whole idea. I'm going to have to talk some of my brides into trying this out. So I ask everyone that's on the podcast, do you have any wedding day horror stories?
Luckily, we don't. As far as scenting events, I think we are pretty lucky because, again, being a bride, I know all about how stressful it is and all the things that could go wrong. So, but luckily, we're on the other side of that.
That's good. That's good. How about what is one piece of advice that you want to give to, I guess, brides and grooms? Can be wedding, scent, can be marriage, anything.
I'll tie it into scent a little bit.
Yeah.
It's all about the details. And I always say this, Marissa knows I say this, it's whether it's how you're dressing, the quality of your work, the dynamics of your relationships, planning of your wedding, paying attention to details makes all the little things significant. And details make you stand out, and they show how dedicated you are, how much you care, and the attention that you're putting into something, especially like a wedding day, for instance. And people remember the details and they notice them. So definitely make those count.
I couldn't agree more. A lot of couples are like, sometimes asking me like, why the questions I'm asking them matter, like why it's so detailed. And especially when it comes to a wedding, like the details matter and the details make a huge difference. And I really think like this specifically is, a small detail that probably makes a very big impact. So after we're done here, I'm going to have to talk to you guys about doing this at some of the weddings I have coming up. But where can listeners find you if they're interested in booking you? Where can they find you? Social media?
Yeah, absolutely. So our company is called Set the Mood. The website is discoversetthemood.com. And that goes for our Instagram as well at discoversetthemood.
So Set the Mood. And then if they're interested in having you come to their event, is it just best to like go on your website, email you?
Yeah, absolutely. Our email addresses are on the website, and that really is best because everything is so bespoke. So, we'd love to get to know the bride and groom personally and go from there.
Well, perfect. If you guys are a bride or groom listening, or if you have a business that you're interested in, definitely reach out to them. I'm very interested. I want to try it. So
I want to spritz one for you.
Yes.
Can I
you brought some.
Let's bring this one.
This one?
That. Yeah.
All right.
I think that's a crowd pleaser. This is our Santal Fever.
Oh, it does smell good. I don't know. I'm probably the worst person to describe things. It smells very fresh. It smells good.
Fresh.
What is it?
It has sandalwood. It's Santal. So
it makes me feel like I'm at a beachy hotel.
Mm-hmm.
But you're having a great time.
That's the vibe.
Yeah. Like honeymoon vibes.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? Like we said, as soon as you it like took me to a
took you
place
somewhere.
I'm like, I am at the beach.
Yep.
Is it supposed to be like a beachy?
It is. I think it has that vibe, the sandalwood, and it's fresh and light, and yeah.
It is. It's like
good.
fresh, light. It's not overpowering, but. So how often do you would you like these little?
So these are just demo room sprays. So this is not the system that we use to scent events. These are just so, you can test and sample and see what it's like. And we do make, full size room sprays for brands in their own packaging and with their own design. So these are just little demos so we could show you a little
Very
bit.
cool. So now I'm going off again, but if you do, not for an event, because that's obviously like a one-time thing, but if you're doing something for like a hotel or doctor's office, a store, what is it still that same machine and they just refill it, or like how does that work?
So it is the machine we typically install into their HVAC unit. So it's actually in the air conditioning system, which is what you would find at, most hotels and larger properties and retail spaces. And it makes it easy that way. It's seamless. It's out of sight. It can be set to their hours of operation, and it's, hidden away. And so it could start, 30 minutes before a business opens and stop at the end of the day. So it is a similar piece of equipment. It's just installed differently than we would at a wedding.
Oh, that's really cool. It's very cool. It also smells really good.
You want another?
Sure.
There's a different one. This one's a little smokier,
Okay.
a little sexy.
Oh, that is sweet.
It's so good. It's one of our favorites.
I'm going to spray it over here.
This one's called Midnight Hour.
It is like kind of smoky, kind of sexy. Can you smell it over there?
We'll sample it later for
We'll have to give them a sample.
So
that
imagine,
smells good.
especially for a wedding, that's a little bit of more of that kind of romantic,
Like
sexy
edgy,
vibe.
like-
Exactly. I think this could be a cool fit.
I like that.
But
one.
this is like your guest first impression. So
Yeah.
So when they walk into your event,
Your wedding already smells expensive.
It does. I feel like that it like makes it feel elevated
does.
and expensive, and it's you can't even see it, but obviously because it's a scent, but it makes a big difference.
It does.
It smells really good. I like that one.
We'll leave that one with you.
It smells so
Spritz
good
it at home.
Yeah. It smells so good. All right. Well, is there anything else you guys want to add for our listeners?
I think just if anyone has a takeaway, just the power of scent and the power that it really has to transform and evoke feelings. And I think it's one of those things, like we kind of said earlier, you don't really realize how impactful it can be until you experience it. So, yeah, I think that's
Very cool. It's funny. I was honestly thinking, I was like, I wish I could smell it. And you're like, we've sampled. It was sitting right there and I missed it. But anyway, thank you guys so much for coming. This is
Thank you so much.
really
for having
cool.
us.
I love different things. Like a couple weeks ago, I had a live painter on the podcast, and I just think it's so cool and different, and it makes your wedding day special. And this is just one of those things of it's a newer thing, and it's very cool, but I think it's very special, and also something that they can have like the rest of their lives, and on an anniversary or something, they can use their scent and bring them back. So I really love this. Thank you guys for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.